around different ecosystem. And this time around, we're taking a look at the startup ecosystem. What is the way forward as regards marketing? The future of marketing. That's what we're talking about. We have Clinton Inameka, who is the founder of Spark Africa. You're very much welcome to the Business Hour.
Thank you, Frank, for hosting me.
What's your take about the future of marketing? You are one person that have perhaps broken the barrier in the startup ecosystem as regards conferences. You've held the largest startup tech conferences in Africa. And how have you been able to do that in the past? But before we go into that, what is your take regarding the future of marketing as regards startups?
Okay, interesting one. So I think to a certain degree, first of all, startups they are not just building businesses, but they're actually solving problems that we have in the community, like in Nigeria, in Africa. And they're transforming how people do business traditionally, which is a good one. But then, however, when it comes to growing or scaling a business or a startup, one key thing is marketing, because marketing gives you the opportunity to be able to push what you do to a wider audience, that's right? And so for now, we see that a lot of startups get to leverage digital marketing to be able to to do business, to get clients. But then I think that the future of marketing is marketing powered by data. So, most times when we want to, go about marketing, we just use the available means or the readily available means, which is like, digital ads. That's when we have Meta campaigns, Google campaigns. We also go down to maybe some OH if you have more funds. But I think that what people should look out for when they want to figure out how they should go about marketing is data. Now, data boils down to, number one, people in my field, in my sector, what channels do they use to go about their marketing, right? And how does that provide results for them? So that will be able to determine, okay, this is what works and this is what I can explore in this sector. That's one. Secondly, is in terms of the business model, right? You want to figure out your audience. So a big part of marketing is understanding who you're selling to. So say for instance, you run a fintech app, and the fintech app aims at being able to allow cross-border payments. You sure know that your first customer base is people who are in the diaspora, right? So that is what you want to know. What in terms of data is, number one, what number of people actually send funds back home, right? And then what medium do they use? Where are they mostly active on? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it physically, right? So when you understand this numbers, right, this would now be able to drive your marketing. And okay, if I spend this money on here, I should be able to get results on here. And if I target their parents back home, and and also second thing is trust. So the big part of marketing is people being able to trust you to deliver on that promise. So the promise could be an app, a software, a hardware, or a service, right? Or, yes. So a big part of the marketing is being able to understand, number one, the data, and number two, your audience. And also, more importantly, being able to build trust with marketing, because that is really what can be able to, number one, get to the audience that you need, and number two, be able to build that customer retention strategy that can keep your audience back home.
Nigerian startup ecosystem, especially Nigerian startups right now, they're facing so many challenges. We just discussed what is happening with electricity. You see the bills are piling up by the day. If you look at our foreign exchange market, it's in a crazy state right now. 1,700 naira to the dollar. There's so many factors literally against an average founder right now. And so with all these uphill battles that an average founder needs to overcome, what do you think is the way forward, knowing fully well the current state of the Nigerian business landscape?
Interesting question. I think that for founders out there who are looking to build solutions in this landscape, I think one thing that they should take to heart is, number one, understanding the viability of what they are building. We see most times that companies or startups or founders are building companies that don't have a road to scale. And I think that's a major difference between an SME and a startup. A startup has a clear road to scale. You can jump from 10 users to over 1,000, 100,000. So the first thing you want to figure out is, what's the potential of scale for this business? And what's the viability of this in this landscape? Now, you could see problems that need solutions, but those solutions cannot thrive in this landscape. There is no ease of doing business for that solution in this landscape. So you want to figure out, is there potential to make this grow? That's one. Number two is, the funds to make this happen, right? Most times, companies or founders love to build solutions, and the next thing they're thinking about is
Fundraising.
funding,
Yeah.
fundraising. And I think that we need to sit back and build the solution to work first, and be more particular about getting those customers, not getting the investors. We shouldn't build solutions for investors. We should build solutions for people to solve problems, not to raise funding. Because what would happen is this: when you build for funding or for investment, you get to have a rough product, and you're going to pitch to investors, and then the product is just there. It's not doing anything. It's not solving any problem. So, and when you pitch to investors, because currently the investment landscape climate is very bad, actually.
Yeah, very bad.
We're seeing it's falling, unlike say 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
So companies, founders need to build solutions that can solve the problems and be able to also get the client base, build trust with customers, bootstrap. And when you have issues with bootstrapping, go get a job and get proceeds from that job to fund your startup if you see a potential in that company. Do you understand?
Yeah, there's so many issues about fundraising.
Yes.
Because it looks like the trust between investors and some Nigerian startup founders,
Yes.
there's a trust deficit right now because of what has happened in the past. You see some founders, there are antecedents of founders raising funds, but being reckless with those funds. You're seeing founders raising funds, literally defrauding investors. There are a couple of incidences like that. Founders raising funds to pay themselves exorbitant salaries.
Yes.
And it's something that's happened over the years, especially this year. One of the episodes of the business we had 3-second silence for 7 startups that went down the drain. These 7 startups raised a cumulative sum of $70 million.
Yes.
And they all went down the drain. And those are hard-earned monies from investors. And right now, investors are literally taken aback as regards investing in the largest economy in Africa. And all this is literally affecting the landscape. What is your take regarding that as well?
Well, first of all, I would dispute the claim of being the largest economy in Africa. I think that was years ago. But then, yes, we are seeing a downfall or a windfall of investments or FDIs in startups this period. But I think that it is raising a new generation of local investments and M&As. We are seeing that more investors, there is a huge education or a huge uprising of investing in our own people, our people investing in our own people.
Okay.
I think that nowadays we are more particular, investors are more particular about the substance of the product, the quality of what you're building, and the potential for growth. We're seeing more companies being able to, towing towards margin or acquiring your company, right? Unlike say 4 or 5 years ago, and is a good thing.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the failing of startups, I think that is not unique to our ecosystem. I think in other markets, even outside Africa, it exists. But then the question then is, how do people learn from these failures? How do people learn and build more stronger businesses? How do people build more companies that are more focused on customers, solving the problems, making profits, revenue, not just raising and being big about valuations and raising money? So I think that the issue of companies failing, I think, is bound to happen, especially in our climate, because people, first of all, you need to eat first before you actually want to build a solution or solve someone else's problems, right?
Very true.
So you have to eat first. So I think that whenever
But eating doesn't mean you have access to $500,000. You pay yourself $500,000 in a month, or $250,000 in a month, where allegations of people and founders been paying themselves as high as $50,000, $100,000. That's reckless. That's not eating.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
how do we juxtapose that between making sure that proper governance and structure is done when you get investors' funds, and also delivering the service that you promised?
Correct.
You promised investors something. You promised Nigerian customers something else. And we're seeing there's a startup called Mara, and went down the drain. Investors, they raised millions and millions of dollars, more than $50 million Mara raised.
Yeah.
$3 million, I beg your pardon, stand to be corrected. The Mara raised in the last few years. It was a crypto startup. And we saw that these guys, they were paying themselves as high as $100,000 monthly. So that is not eating. There's a fine line between trying to feed and also defrauding investors. And that is putting us on the bad pedestal as regards the investment landscape.
Well, that's true, but you didn't get me correctly. I didn't say eating from investors' funds.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, for companies or for founders to think about building solutions,
Sure.
they need to be able to at least eat or have food before they can be able to solve someone, not to eat from the funds of investors. But then, when it comes to the issues that we have, I think that corporate governance is a very important thing that startups need to take into cognizance, because it gets to put you into a very structured landscape for growth.
Okay.
Because then you get to have boards who get to approve expenditures in your business and be able to also know how operations works. So I think that we need to, or startups need to adopt, or there needs to be a reenacted emphasis on corporate governance for startups. It is not just likened to traditional businesses.
Yeah.
For startups, we need to be big about our board. Do we have a board in this business? Is there a systematic process of approving funds and and utilizing those funds for what they said it was to be used for? So corporate governance is one, and we are seeing that more and more there is this conversations happening, unlike say 2-3 years ago. Nowadays, we are seeing more companies or more people, established people, talk about corporate governance, corporate structure, your board, and the chain of authority in the business, right? So that's key. And I think with our events as well, we try to really emphasize a lot on corporate governance, on, if you're running a business, you're not a charity organization, you should take sales seriously and revenue seriously. Because say, if you're running a company and revenue is not your first goal, then that's a charity. That's not a business.
That's right.
You understand?
So let us pivot into conferences. There are lots of conversations around the actual objective of conferences.
Yeah.
People feel, oh, they come to conferences, especially tech conferences, lots of money are being invested into getting those conferences running. So some people just come and listen to founders, but when they go back, I'm trying to understand the objective of different conferences, especially in the tech ecosystem. Founders will come, raise money, have different conferences, but is it really, is there an intrinsic value in those conferences, tilting down to the citizens, people who come, tech enthusiasts, people who are trying to learn from founders, especially mentorship programs, especially the goal has to be beyond the four walls of a 5,000 capacity hall. What do you have to say regarding that? Because there are lots of conversations around, oh, we just come to conferences, but we hear this, we hear that, motivational speakers, quote and unquote. But what is the real objective of conferences, especially when it has to do with your ecosystem?
Okay, so I think that when it comes to events and conferences, people will have different things they want to take out of it.
Yeah, true.
The only job of the conference or event is to do a couple of things. Number one is to get the relevant people in the room together. That's one. To create that platform, that structure. Yeah. That's one. And number two is to, out of those relevant people being in the room, be able to catalyze conversations, networking, and also really different things that the ecosystem needs. So, but then when it comes to people attending these events are very valuable. But then if you're attending one, you need to ask yourself, why am I really attending this? But then, like I said, people come to these events for different things. Yeah. And to some people, is that these events bring together people that you can't really get on virtual calls. You can't place them on LinkedIn. You can't get the attention any other place. Yeah. But they're coming to these events and gives you that one-on-one opportunity to interact with those people. And those people could be your potential investors, your potential partners, or clients. So what we try to do is that instead of just saying, okay, these events are a landscape for you to come and network, quote unquote, we try to see how to facilitate those conversations. So could be through meeting rooms, through mentor hours, to community activities. And then one thing we're also trying to do this year is introducing master classes. We see that to a great degree, big tech events can become quite boring, right? That's because they tend to span for so long, and there is no time to, and it gets boring because everyone is talking almost the same thing. So, but then these conversations need to still keep happening. Do you understand?
That's right.
But the good thing there is that it needs to be in the midst of relevant people, people who are actually contributing to the ecosystem. That's one. And the other one is people who attend this event should know why they're coming. Now, for me, it could be I want to meet investors and potentially pitch my business to the next investor. And even though I might not raise funds then, but I can be able to kickstart a conversation that in the next 5 to 6 months, that conversation leads to an investment. To the others, it could be partnerships. Say you run a business and you're looking to interact with people who you could partner with and do business with. These events give you that landscape to be able to meet those people and talk to those people. And it's our job as event organizers to get the right people in the right room, to be able to have those conversations and be able to make it much more productive. And to other people, it could also be to be able to meet long-lost friends or be able to meet with peers who are doing amazing things and be able to be inspired. Like, I would give you an instance.
All right.
3 years ago, we had our first event. And we had this lady who told us, her birthday was like 4 days after that conference, right? And she told us that, I'm coming to this event because I want to land a job on my birthday. And what did she do? She got like flyers that had her CV on it. Yeah. And on the event day, she was sharing it across. And I got to know that on her birthday, she landed a job. Do you understand? Yeah. But she was intentional about why she came to that conference. Yeah. True. Do you understand? So I think that events need to keep happening. I think that we can't overemphasize the importance of events, but then we need to go about the structure of this event. How can it be much more productive? And I think we are doing a pretty good job in that as well.
Yeah, I must say that the African Startup Festival, amazing job you're doing, especially in the startup ecosystem. Clinton Nnameka, who's the founder of Spark Africa. You've heard from him. You need to make sure you find out the reason why you're going for a particular event, not just going for conferences or perhaps just get crashing different conferences, but have an objective, have a goal. If it's to meet investors, then please, all well and good. Go ahead and meet investors, meet your fellow founders. And that is what Clinton has been able to do in the Nigerian startup ecosystem, the African startup ecosystem, as a matter of fact, hosting the largest tech conference in Nigeria. Great job you're doing. I want to say a very big thank you for coming to the business. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you, Frank.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from Clinton. And regarding the startup ecosystem, founders should not build for investors, but please build for the market, build to solve problems that there are a dime a dozen, especially in the global south, in this part of the world. We have so many problems that you can invest and solve. There's so many problems that are begging for solutions. So don't build for investors, but build for Nigerians. That is it on the business. It's been a great conversation so far. I'll see you on the other. I'll see you some other time where we have conversations around your money, your business, and the economy. The sports show continues. Don't go anywhere. Voice of the People Television has got you covered. This is the Business Hour.